Yeah, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Marc Price and Brad Watson.
Whose seat is this? Who's this for?
That seat
is that for you?
If you decide during the course of this afternoon
to bring someone up,
bring someone with you, that's something for them to sit on.
Well, Sarah's here, isn't she?
Cool.
Let's
Yeah,
bring Sarah. Sarah, because you're in it. Sarah, you have to sit. You know, it's too late. The embarrassing Brad. The star of the film, everyone. I mean, I have to sit in that one. I made notes because I'm the worst at remembering what to talk about. Haddonfield Estate, huh?
It's the Hallows Estate in the Haddonfield constituency.
Oh, okay, I got it. Does anyone get that reference?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice, there you go. You are the cool people in the room.
Haddonfield is said about 7 or 8 times in the movie. For those of you who don't know, Haddonfield is the town from Halloween. Yeah.
So we should introduce Sarah properly. Sarah, as you may recognise, was the star of the film. And how did you guys meet?
Here.
Oh,
in this room.
It was because of you. It was because of Marc.
me.
Yeah. Basically, we came to a screening of one of Marc's films, and I was sitting out in the bar as I normally do on my own, having a beer, and this vision came floating towards me, sat down, and instead of thinking, "Wow, what a beautiful woman just sat down and started talking to me," I went, Cassie just sat down next to me, and I was writing the script at the time. And
I didn't know this.
Yeah, of course you didn't know. It must have been what, a year later?
Easily, a year or so, yeah.
Yeah. So little did she know that. So this is a great tip for anyone. Just say hello to people and talk to people.
It's true.
Especially Brad.
No, but you just don't know what's going on and what people are cooking up and what projects are going on. So Sarah said hello to me and she stuck in my mind. Now that doesn't mean that she automatically got the part. Obviously, I did audition her, and I auditioned a lot of other people for the part because, you know, this is the lead part in my movie. I'm not going to just give it to someone because they said hi, but it's just that when you said,
I wish it was that easy.
But the important thing is, and this is very important for people to understand, is, and Marc agrees with this, I think 100%, is there's lots of great actors out there, lots of really good actors out there that can give you everything you need for your role and give their own unique spin on it. But we love to work with people that we know we're going to get on with, and we know we're going to fit in with our way of working, because your way of working is very, especially when you're making a low budget movie, there's no room for it. You've got no contingency. You know, everyone's got to be on their game. Everyone's got to be working, and everyone's got to fit into the way you're shooting. So personality of people you're working with is very, very important. So that's why not only did Sarah, fit the part for me, because when I was writing it, I knew that I wanted the brother and sister characters. I don't think I'd given them names yet, but I knew I wanted them to be different race. I wanted one to be mixed race and one to be Caucasian, and I didn't know which was which. So I kind of leaned towards the way it turned out after meeting Sarah, had her in my mind, but after we auditioned, and we auditioned a lot, we did quite a few.
Absolutely.
And yeah, gave her the part, obviously.
Right, good choice.
But it's his fault.
Anyone needs any work? So yeah, we're going to talk about sort of development of the film, really, and script. How you got that written? Was that on spec? And budget? Where did you find the budget to make the film? If that's a cool conversation to have, knowing that you need to get it distributed.
Yes, I wrote it on spec. I wrote it completely. My last movie came out 6 years ago.
Is that Beacon?
Yeah,
Okay.
Beacon. Who and there's some people who worked on that here. My DP's here who worked on that, and my camera operator. When a movie comes out and it gets released, Beacon went into about 20 countries, and it's like, yeah, doing really well, Brad. Yeah, let's go. Right, these are my other projects here, and then they just meander and they enter the system of the British film industry, and you start finding yourself relying on other people too much, people that don't deliver, blah blah blah. That sounds like I'm bitter. I'm not. This is just how I came to the decision to make the movie. I'd had this sort of concept which I can talk about. I've done all these interviews where I'm not allowed, where I'm trying not to give away what the concept is, but I can now because you will see them. I had the concept of a vigilante movie that's from the point of view of the people being attacked and doing it as a horror film. I had that a long time ago, and it was an idea that stuck with me. So when I was like, right, okay, let's figure out something that I can get going myself, and that was the concept that came to the forefront of my mind. And I said, okay, let's sit down and write it. And you sit there, go to a few coffee shops, and you sit there, and you're like, page one, and then
You write in coffee shops.
Well, the only reason.
You're the type, right?
No. I'm going to defend myself.
I'm doing
here.
something important. You're all just drinking coffee.
I'm going to defend myself here. The only reason I write in coffee shops is because I have to stay away from the internet. I make sure I don't know where. I make sure I don't know what their thing is, because it's a distraction.
It's because it's harder to procrastinate in a coffee shop than in your living room.
Procrastinate.
You're all very familiar with that term.
This is for youngsters, right? Anyway, don't worry, we're going to get to that. Anyway.
I'll explain what that is.
No, I don't know.
So,
every writer here knows what we're talking about.
yes. So, but it wasn't until suddenly the idea of filtering it through a John Carpenter 80s style, when that kind of clicked, I was like, right, I think I can do this now. And then I sat and I wrote it. And then obviously you've written it, and I've got this script, and I'm like, okay, well, what do? I need to get it done. So I went to my sales agents that sold my last movie, who for some insane reason really liked working with me. So I said to them, I've got this idea, and I think we can do a section of this movie off our own backs. Now I wrote it with that in mind. I wrote it with the second half of the movie all taking place in this abandoned factory. Because those of you that know filmmaking will know that it doesn't matter how simple you make a scene. If you can do exterior night, forget it. You need money to do that. You're going to be in a world of pain if you don't have a little bit of money to do exterior night stuff, especially in a public place, in an estate and that. So I said, right, well, the second half of the movie is all going to be not exterior night. It's all going to be interior somewhere, purely for that reason. So then I focused on the second half of the script. So basically, the movie you just saw, all the stuff that is in the corridors, in the factory, in the abandoned factory, was shot nearly 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, yeah?
Easily, yeah.
Shot totally off our own backs. I got in touch with a DP who lives not far from me called Robert Horwell, who co-produced it with me because he invested, he runs his own hire facility. He's got he's got Alexas, he's got Red Dragons and everything. And I approached him with the idea, and I said, look, if we can get a bit of this going and then try and raise some money to finish it. And he
that was the thing, wasn't it? Because there's a shot in there of Sarah shot about a year and a half ago. And then it's the bit where that really great bit where the guy's like, "Is this still a test?" And then, but the bit of him getting hit was done a year later, and you digitally.
Yeah, I think we're gonna show that in one of the clips. Cool. But yeah, that's absolutely. And so there's that happening all the time. We're intercutting between stuff we shot a year and a half ago and stuff we shot 7 months ago.
So the stuff you did a year and a half ago, was that to raise money for the film? I knew the answer to that.
Yes. Thanks.
Elaborate.
Prompt me. Yeah. So basically I put out a casting call. Got some fantastic. So there's a lot of cast here who came on board, except for one. And I'll go into that in a sec.
What? What's this? Is this gossip? You know how much I love gossip.
Yeah. We had to do a recast, but we're also glad that Ethan came on board and did it. But basically we shot most of that second half of the movie off our own backs a year and a half ago, with all these guys that came on board, and got Ruby, we've got Matt, we've got so many people here, Frankie, who believed in the project, believed in me when I sold them the idea that okay, we're gonna do this for no money, and then I'm gonna go out and try and raise just enough money for us to finish the film off properly, yeah, lo and behold, it worked.
Well, we're going to talk now about references and stuff, because just because it was kind of fun. There was loads of stuff I saw in it. Brad sent me a version of the film. I think it was a rough edit, and I think I immediately started going like, it's Close Encounters. You just did a Close Encounters bit.
Yeah.
So there was loads of references. Again, there's more stuff we spotted today.
Yep.
There's a Howling reference in there.
Yeah, well, it's more a Joe Dante.
You just told me
reference.
about, and I pretended
There's
I got
always
it.
every single movie I make will have a Joe Dante reference in it. This has got a couple. There's when the gang are chatting, they talk about who's causing all the problems, and a name that's thrown out is Eddie Quist. Eddie Quist is Robert Picardo's character in The Howling, and the MP's name is Richard Miller, i.e. Dick Miller, who's in every single Joe Dante movie. Joe Dante, who's the director of Gremlins and Inner Space and Explorers and so many of my favourite movies. He's probably my favourite director of all time.
Kind of how we bonded, right?
Yeah,
We just,
absolutely, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
funny enough, I'm jumping ahead a bit here, but I kind of felt that the whole soundtrack had a sort of Jerry Goldsmith Poltergeist 2 sort of vibe to it. Specifically Poltergeist 2. Was that on purpose, or am I just reading too much into it?
No, you're not. Well, I did reference. I was just chatting to Tom over there about the references for the music, because I did the music, and that was purely. It was mainly to save money.
You did the music?
Yes.
You wrote that score?
Yes.
You didn't tell me that?
No.
Ah, shit. I might have some work for you. Free, of course. Oh no, it's a great opportunity. You could work with us again, another project.
Great for your showreel.
Good for your showreel.
Okay, that sounds.
I didn't know that. That's wicked.
Did you not know?
No, you never mentioned
Okay,
it.
didn't I? Okay.
You credited it?
I've been, yeah.
You see, what happens is every time I've seen the film, I text him and go like, I just got a Jay and Silent Bob reference, and the kid goes like that to the other kid. So that's what I've been doing. So I missed your credit.
Well,
Read credits.
yes. Okay. The way the music came out was mainly to save money, but also I wasn't going to do it if I didn't think that I could do it. So and the thing is, when we did the first part, and then I went out with my sales agent, Movie House, who supported me from the beginning. So I went to them with this harebrained scheme, and they said, look, if you do this and you get the money and you make it, or if you do this, you can tell people that you're trying to get the money from, that we're going to take it out to the market and sell it. So you have a sales agent attached, and that's a very, very important thing, because that means that I'm not some schmo who's going, I want to make a movie. That just puts you onto a level of industry confidence where a sales agent is saying, we're going to take it out to sale. We're going to give you sales estimates for the financiers and all that stuff. Now that might sound to those of you that are just starting off, might sound like, oh, how does that happen? But it's just pure relationships. It's just the number one thing you have to remember is it takes time, and you need to gain people's trust. Movie House sold my last movie. They were very impressed with what we did for the money. They liked the business it did for them, and they liked me, and they liked what I was trying to do, and they liked other projects of mine. So it's purely that. So they said, "Yep, we'll help you with this." So to have them on board was fantastic, and gave it the confidence.
Well, on the subject of some of the films that influenced you, and films that I love, how we sort of got to know each other, we do have some clips.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you made these clips.
Yes.
So the first one is going to be of what exactly? We got Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No, we'll see.
Close
No.
Encounters.
The first clips are, well, just play them. And we'll
Should we play them?
see.
Do you know what the file is called? Because the projector.
It's called Clip 1.
Oh, that.
That original name.
Okay, here we go.
I'm intrigued.
And the chemical engineer.
Anything you want, I'll do.
So, I won't be back till midnight. Is there now?
No, I don't know where he is. He's not answering his phone.
Anyone messes with me and the whole camp goes.
Anyone messes with me and the whole place goes.
Come on. But yeah, Anyway, those are 4 clips that I thought I'd throw together just to show
abject
that I do not have an original bone in my body. But I really wanted Sarah to say. Okay, so when we did the that final scene that Sarah is so amazing in, and I. What was it? I said, I'm going to shoot the shit out of you in this scene.
That was the actual words you used on set, yes.
I said to her, right, there's this line of dialogue that you're going to say. Anyone messes with me and the whole place goes. And I'll say, I know you're going to come up to me and say, can I reword this? But I preempted her and I said, no, you can't. Because it's a direct...
to say?
No, I didn't get a chance to even think about it.
I got in there before.
Like, it's not happening.
I know, I knew.
I have this vision of you looking at the monitor like this. Brad, can I reword? No. Really
Because there was an intentional John Carpenter reference that she says that, because there she is with a flame at the thing, and in the Thing, Kurt Russell, the Thing being one of the greatest films ever made. If any of you have not seen the Thing, see it. And yeah, so those references are all deliberate, and it's all, and obviously the Thing's called Hallows Eve. It's obviously, you know, and I've never been shy about saying, look, this is a homage to John Carpenter, it's a homage to that era of horror movies. And so I thought, well, I might as well do some blatant references or rip-offs, depends on how you look at it.
I was going to say, was it tricky finding pumpkins out of season? Because we were shooting films at the same time, right? So in January, we were shooting this.
I said,
What season is the season?
Sarah, I sent a text to you the other day. What did it say?
What did it say to him?
She didn't read it unopened. I was going to show a text.
You replied to it. Okay, I sent a text to Sarah the other day saying, I'm in a supermarket and I have to stop myself.
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Yes.
I remember the text.
Yes. I sent a text to Sarah saying, okay, I'm in a supermarket now and I have to stop myself from buying up all the pumpkins. Because for the last 2 years, all I've done is buy pumpkins at this time of year. Because 2 years ago we were going to shoot in December. So I'm like, I need to buy all the pumpkins now. So I did that, and then we were shooting this January. Yeah. So the October before that, I need to buy all the pumpkins now. So
do you have like a big freezer like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre around the woman?
Funny enough, I did some research, and as long as I didn't cut into the pumpkins, they would keep.
That was the thing on set. That just don't cut them.
Don't cut them, because as soon as you cut them, because they're so old, as soon as you cut them, they will rot like literally like time lapse.
So like was like in Indiana Jones and the King of the Crystal Skull. That one. They do a thing and then the body falls apart, and I don't really remember.
But pretty much one pumpkin
you know what
that
I
we
mean?
had to use for continuity was like that by the end. But we were like, we've got to use the same one, and it was so mangled. And I think it's probably what I had to kick. And we've got to piece it back together again for the take.
Okay, this is really cool.
Are we allowed to talk about the things that I was like, yeah, instead of kicking over, what you should have done is got the cardboard.
Oh no, we can talk about all this stuff. And the other one is don't burn there, love, burn there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the burning bit. Well, that was it. There's a line they haven't recorded yet where basically the guy's like, "Why are you burning my skin?" And he goes, "Do the other side," and she's like, "No, that's cool." This is nice. It feels nice.
But I need to say that
I'm very lazy. I know how to move shit using my feet.
I need to say
controls.
That whole scene,
like a chimp.
That whole scene of where Sarah wakes up and is tired and all that stuff. That entire scene. How long did it take us to shoot that scene?
Oh my goodness.
Like literally, it took us over a year because we shot.
Oh, it started in 2014 and ended in 2016.
Absolutely,
I swear.
Yeah, totally.
I thought you were going to say an hour.
There are shots of Sarah where it intercuts with. It's a shot of Sarah and then it cuts back to the guys in the mask, cuts back to her. It's a year later. The shot of her. That's how we did it, and that is actually the credit I have to give there is to my makeup supervisor
and Sarah's aging process, which to be fair is fairly slow, like a Highlander.
Sarah's ageless, but
the film, not Scottish people.
This is something that you have to think about. If you're going to make a low budget movie, or if you're going to make a movie like this, you are not going to make your schedule, no matter how hard you try. So you have to be aware of that, and you have to think about what you drop, and things you drop are things that you know you can easily pick up when it's just you and your DP and your actress and no one else. So there's a lot of shots there that are literally just us doing these close-ups and things like that a year after we've shot the masters.
Well, one of my favorite ones is you said the street lights coming on.
Yeah.
Like you basically live on that road, so
Yeah.
every night you would sit outside and you'd get something. Oh, that's cool. And then you get another angle the next night, and the next night for about maybe three weeks.
Yeah.
You go, oh yeah, I'll get some shots of the lights coming on.
The lights
They go a
out.
long way. It's like a production value
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Because I have a Red One camera, and it's an old Red One. It's not updated. It's not MX'd. It's a really old one. I wouldn't, hide, if I try to hide it, people they'd laugh. But what people don't realise is the technology is basically the same, and it's never changed. It's just about the amount of light it can respond to, and so I knew that I could run out into my street when they turn the lights off at midnight in my town and just grab all these pickups. So yeah, there's a few shots that are just me sort of in my dressing gown standing in someone else's camera with the lights.
See, now this is a very vague thing I wrote down here. It's called The Shoot, Set Stories, Problems You Overcame. Go.
Well,
I went on holiday for 2 weeks and got a tan.
yes.
That's pretty hard when you're filming over 2 years.
Well, there was lots of flickering yellow light.
Well,
There was lots of they had to darken me because I knew I was going to go on holiday. So when I came back off holiday, it would the continuity was there.
Well,
so they started with.
I filmed the day before I went on holiday, and we picked up filming the day after I got back after 2 weeks in Mexico.
But the
so
thing
we
is,
had to
because
pre-plan.
Sarah's a pro. She said because we were going to shoot it all in the January, but then there was a scheduling problem, blah blah blah, and we ended up saying, right, well, I'm going to have to shoot 2 days with Sarah at the location in December, so bring it forward 2 days. And Sarah said, well, I'm going to go on I'm going to be on holiday in between those periods. Which I went, it's fine. And she went, no, I will look totally different when I get back. so in those 2 days that we shot with her before she went on holiday, we had to tan her up even more.
Not professional enough to stay in the shade, huh?
Yeah.
So I love my work, but I also love the sunshine. 2 weeks in Mexico, come on.
My movie. Come on. But because Sarah's a pro, she knows that that's something that she needs to make us aware of, and little things like that come out of the woodwork that you just not planned for. But if everyone's on their game and everyone knows things, they'll bring them up and they'll make them known, and then your professional makeup crew will go, okay, don't worry, we'll deal with that, and it's fine. So cool. I do nothing. I just rely on everyone else being professional.
It's good. Hang on, sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to wrap that up so quick. Oh, Jesus, questions. Okay, post-production. I've got any clips. What was the Raiders?
Okay, all right. Okay, the Raiders clip was...
That's a production one, right?
Yeah, that's a production one. And this is where... Okay, I was asked to... when I was asked to do this Q&A, to come up with some ideas about filmmaking ideas and filmmaking concepts that work with a low budget. Now, and one of the... And I know Mark agrees 100% with me with this. If there's one man who's one of the greatest low-budget filmmakers of all time, it's Steven Spielberg, and he shoots things in a way that if you shoot it on a low budget, you can do this stuff, and it's got a magic to it as well. And the clip I'm going to show it's a clip from Raiders of the Lost Ark. That when I was a kid, I'd seen Raiders so many times. It's one of my favourite films. But then when I just got to a certain age, where I started to notice things, when I noticed that this whole thing was one shot, just with one cutaway, it blew my mind. It blew my mind. I was like suddenly, wow. And the scene just works so well. So
before we show it, we should talk about like the technique employed. Basically, sometimes when the schedule's kicking your ass, you haven't got time to shoot. Sometimes you want to shoot. Some filmmakers like to shoot a lot of options. When the schedule's kicking your ass, the best thing you can do is just design a really interesting shot, and then get yourself an out. So if the beginning of one take is better than the end of that take, and then the end of another take is amazing, but the beginning isn't so hot, you can sort of throw a cutaway in there, and then you can use both. And
there's one cutaway in this shot right at the end, and it's a great cutaway that works, and you can bet it's because he missed.
Well, you know what? I think as well as sometimes when you use those cutaways, they maximize impact, because the moment is he's going on.
No, exactly. It works brilliantly.
It works on multiple levels, and the idea is hopefully people in TV land don't know.
Yes,
that's what you don't know whether it's a technical thing. I think.
So let's show.
Cool shit. It's really cool thing. Oh.
did it, didn't you?
They want you to go for it.
Oh, Marcus!
They want you to get a hold of the Ark before the Nazis do, and they're prepared to pay handsomely for it.
And the museum? The museum gets the Ark when we're finished.
Oh, yes.
Oh. The Ark of the Covenant.
Nothing else has come close.
That thing represents everything we got into archaeology for in the first place.
You know, 5 years ago, I would have gone after it myself. I'm really rather envious.
Gotta locate Abner. Think I know where to start. So she'll still be with him?
Possibly. Marion's the least of your worries right now, believe me, Indy.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean that for nearly 3,000 years, man has been searching for the lost Ark. Not something to be taken lightly. No one knows its secrets. It's like nothing you've ever gone after before.
Oh, Marcus! What are you trying to do? Scare me? You sound like my mother. We've known each other for a long time. I don't believe in magic, a lot of superstitious hocus pocus. I'm going after a find of incredible historical significance. You're talking about the boogeyman. Besides, you know what a cautious fellow I am.
Okay, so
right, wicked map painting there.
That's a great map painting. But but that's just one master shot. Doing that whole scene in round two shot. Then he starts talking about the arc. So we push in single, and then Harrison Ford comes walking across 2 shot, and then bam, 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 and then the cutaway, bam, and then off we go. And I can't tell you how much I get off on that kind of filmmaking. It is absolutely.
That's why he has to write in coffee shops.
Yeah, but the important thing to remember, is you can't do a scene like that. You can't do a scene like that unless you've got a great script, great actors that are, you've got 2 of the greatest actors ever there, and that know what they're doing, that can make it natural, hit their mark. I mean, these guys are hitting marks that are within millimeters, and they're making it feel natural. And you've got great camera operator, great DP, and a great focus puller, and a great grip. And unless you have all those elements, you can't do a shot like that. But you can think in those ways. You can think in those ways, and you can make a whole. And as long as you've got that little cutaway when we cut to the gun, bam and bang. But it works so well for that scene because it's mysterious gun. Wow, off we go. Matte painting. Love it.
It's the energy, isn't it?
Yes.
The whole of keeping the momentum of the story going.
Yeah.
'Cause that's like an exposition dump scene.
Absolutely.
It's set at Marion.
Yeah, and you would, and if you were, I'm going to say it, if you were a lesser filmmaker, you would cut that up. You would be scared about shooting a scene like that in that way.
That is something I see in a few films that I make. We get to see other filmmakers make stuff because we're friends with filmmakers, and there's sometimes a real lack of confidence in shooting stuff where I've made suggestions to filmmakers and said, look, you haven't got any time to shoot the crap out of this to take it to the editing room, so just make a decision and it'll be fine. Get a couple of insert shots where you can break those things up, and they do it, and then they spend another hour getting lots of different angles. It's kind of like
Now there's a shot in Hallows Eve, and I think Matt and Ethan are going to remember this, where we had a 2-page dialogue scene that we had to shoot at sunset, and the sun was going, and we were up against it. The sun was going down. We literally had 10 minutes of the sun left, and we had a 2-page dialogue scene to shoot. And we had 2 kids in the scene as well. Now, what you often do as a filmmaker when you've got 2 youngsters, especially when you don't have a lot of time, is you will shoot that scene up so that you can go in with the edit and you can help out their performances with the edit. We didn't have time. So basically I turned to Bob and DP and I said, right, I'm going to shoot this all in a master, and we're going to use this pylon, and we're going to track. So it's the scene right at the beginning after they all jumped over the wall and all that stuff, and then suddenly it cuts to them walking along. Ethan says, what are you shits little doing here, and blah, 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 and it all goes on, and the legendary line, suck my sweaty sacks, and all that stuff. But if you watch the movie, it's one amazing, it's done on a Ronin, and it's tracking along the side. Now, to pull something like that together in 10 minutes He's like, literally, we did a rehearsal that was all wrong, and I literally then run up to him and I said, right, wait there on that line, hold there, on that line, get to here, blah, 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 blah. I went to Roy who plays the guy with, oi, what are you doing here, guy? I said, right, Roy, wait all the way down there. We might get to you. I don't know. Let's see. But if you see me going like that behind the camera, that means come out and say your line. So we did this rehearsal. It was complete balls up. But the thing is that once you know where the time is not hitting, you can run up to great actors like Ethan and Matt and say, okay, guys, when you pull out the money, do it here. When you do that there, just stop there for a second, blah blah. And then that will mean that by the time Roy comes out, you should be there. Roll it. And Bob's going, we've got one shot of this. The sun's going to be gone. Roll it. Happened. Started happening. I'm looking at it. Bob's operating. And he just looks at me like that. And I'm like, it's working, isn't it? So like that comes out to this beautiful shot, and then I'm going to Roy. And then Roy comes out, blah blah blah, like that, and it was great. And I was like, we did it. And that's sometimes, and that's a shot that if people look at it, it looks like it was probably a preconceived, choreographed shot, but no, it was literally like, this is all we've got time to do.
We were shooting films at the same time in January, right? So I was sending you like the same type of shots. Look what I just did today. You're like, look what I just did today. And it was one of those rare things, I think, as filmmakers. There's some kind of competing shit that goes on with the film.
Yeah, which is nuts.
We don't have. I would send you stuff and you'd send me tests saying, oh dude, I wish I had a controllable set where it would be nice. I could put the lights wherever I want. I went, dude, I wish I could shoot outside with modern clothes. I think that would be so much fun. And it was just, I don't know, but you sent me that. It's just a very efficient way to shoot when the schedule's very, very tricky, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. But you look at the stuff that we pulled off, and I think it's because we think in those ways.
You pulled off, I got fired off mine.
I've seen the rough cut; it's amazing. But we think in those ways. We always think in those ways, and we always think about, okay, how do we make? No shot is we don't cover things just because you're covering it just for sake. I mean, you'll do maybe a little insert, just like, okay, if I do need it, I've got that. But you don't go, right, okay, let's do the close up there, let's do the close up there, let's do a two shot, right, okay, I'm kind of getting. No, we think in terms of shots creating things and shots developing into things, shots making stuff, and that's why I wanted to show that Raiders shot, because it's not, there are so many more ballsy one take shots out there. Zemeckis does them a lot. But there's just something about the way Spielberg does things like that just feels, you don't even notice that it's a one shot. You don't even know.
That's interesting. I was talking to Tim, who was in the front row there, because of another filmmaker, and we were talking about Tim said the 80s was like that golden era of competent master shots where the camera moved and it wasn't just wide, and the block is even in really crappy low budget nonsense terrible films. The directing was present, and things have shifted now where everything's more a case of grabbing stuff. What was that thing that Herzog said in that Facebook thing that keeps popping up? We're not garbage collectors. We should be selecting.
We're thieves.
Yeah,
we're thieves. We get away with loot.
We should be choosing the right shots to tell the story and not randomly grabbing.
And that's why movies now. I don't. When the big movies come out now, I don't get that excited about who's directing them because I know that they're not going to direct them. I know they're just going to shoot the shit out of them and cut them together. And other people are going to help them do that, and that's why most big budget movies now, they're spectacular. There's some great stuff, but you don't feel a director's hand doing stuff.
Do you think that's because we're old now? Like we watch stuff like The Explorers, and we're like, it's the greatest movie ever, but like my dad was like. So like maybe we're at that point in life. We got to accept this now. Like
the one time I knew I had the coolest dad in the world was because he loved Goonies as much as me. Whereas all the other adults thought Goonies was just a mess. They're like, I can't understand what the kids are saying. But my dad loved Goonies. So.
I remember my mum. My mum would say, "You're not allowed to watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. The son said some shit about it." And my dad was like, fuck that, let's just watch it. Put it on, and he said, don't tell your mum we watched this. She came on, oh, Monty Boy. We just started doing all the lines from Indiana Jones. And she went, you watched that snake-eating film, didn't you? And I was like, it was great. And my dad was just like, oh, Jesus Christ, the kids. So, yeah.
But the thing is that, okay, so we're talking about techniques here, and we're talking about techniques that work on a lower budget and stuff like that.
We should talk about visual effects, because that's a huge part of that.
Well, the next clip is just going to juxtapose a one-shot thing I did a scene like I shot the shit out of you with when you wake up. And I just want to. So this is I think it's clip 3. Hopefully, if you just show these clip 3, there should be 2 moments that I'll then chat about.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Is this it?
Yeah.
There's no sound of this. You have to talk to me.
So this is one shot, and the reason is because I wanted this shock to happen in one shot, because I just thought it'd be more effective if we didn't cut, bam, and then that happens. And I don't know. You might all sit there and just laughed, but I don't know. So then we have this sequence. Now, if you watch this sequence, we pretty much don't cut back to the same shot. We of Sarah. I shot the hell out of her. So this is what you call over coverage, and this is because I wanted this. I wanted you to feel uncomfortable. Bang, bang, bang. See, we're just cutting. There we go, and cut. So the reason for that is up until that scene. If you watch the movie, you'll probably notice that the style I employ up until that scene is this master shots, sort of just revealing with the odd cutaway.
There's a psychological sort of technique to cuts, which you see, and I think Hitchcock used to do it, where he'd have. It's in The Birds. There's a great scene in The Birds where they attack the sort of petrol station, where every cut, he said, from the beginning of the scene, from him walking into the coffee shop, got shorter in increments to the point where it was like, and it's just this.
Another great example of that is Richard Donner's The Omen, when Damon's on the tricycle going towards, and if you watch that scene, there's like about 20 or 30 cuts in that scene, and it never cuts back to the same shot. It's just bam, 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 and it just gets you on edge, and that's an example where you're over covering things for a stylistic reason. You're not over covering because you don't know what you're doing. You're like, I know when I get into the edit. So poor Sarah had to put up with lying there, and it's a similar thing with that final scene where she's doing that.
Did you ever fall asleep when you were just lying there? That happens sometimes.
No, I'm a professional.
That's fine. Sorry. I would have fallen asleep, but I'm clearly not professional.
But it's the same with that with the scene when she's got the flame to the gas canister. If you notice, it's cutting all around her. It's like face to face, and that we literally spent half a day basically shooting that. And Sarah had to do that monologue about 20 times. Yeah, which. And this is where you've got to
take 2.
One.
2 is really good.
And he knew he had it on take 2 as well.
Yeah.
He just didn't need it.
But I knew, because I wanted to cut to all these different angles and constantly do it, and that's where again you have to make sure you have people that are gonna deliver on all those takes, and they're gonna understand what you're doing as well. When you say to, because you don't have time to sit down and go, this is the plan, blah blah blah. All you're gonna do is going around, right. I'm just gonna shoot the shit out of you today. Bye. Like that. Yeah, good. Yeah, right. And that's it.
No one's kicking us out yet, but we've got visual effects stuff to do.
Right.
Let's
Okay.
cover visual effects.
So
there's a clip.
Yeah, this is an example of how you just a simple knowledge of After Effecks can get you out of a world of trouble.
Should we play the clip?
Yeah.
Cool. You're gonna talk through these.
Yeah, I'll talk
there's no sound.
Yeah.
So tell me, Bradley, what did you do here?
Oh, okay. This is okay. These are the 2 shots that are a year apart.
Yeah.
These are a year apart. These 2 shots, the shots of Sarah, and the shots of Frankie. Bam, and then suddenly, bam. There we are. 2 shots that are a year apart in one shot. There. That's an effect shot. Yeah. So that corridor doesn't exist there. So if we go straight onto the next clip, because there's more visual effects. But that's, you have to kind of pre-plan that and know that you're going to do that. So Sarah's like, I'm telling her to react to this, react to that. She's like, I don't know, okay. Okay, this is Rushes. There's Sarah walking away from the bus stop. That's all right, isn't it? We stood there for ages. Oh look, there's a bus.
What?
That bus is a visual effects shot. Yes.
That was not there.
What the hell?
That bus didn't exist, and now we're in Watford. And that is not a visual effects line, Mark.
I thought that was a visual effects.
That's art department.
I thought you did a monsters on it.
And go straight on to the next thing. Okay, so we could not have naked flames in this, so that's a torch. Look, you see the bulb? That's a torch.
What?
All of these shots are digital effects with the flames. All the flames are comps. In I'd say 90% of the candle shots are comps. Oh, wait, here's Harry. Look, we had 1 police car. We could only afford 1. Oh, but look, there's 2. There's 2.
What is this voodoo?
There's 2. That's because it's the same police car. Simple. Okay, and here we go. One police car goes by. And no more. And then, oh look, and then a random taxi goes past. Look at that.
What?
Okay, so here we go. And there's 1, 2, 3. And then the random taxi goes by, but it looks like a police car now. Look. Hey! So.
Oh, what? You're a magician.
We can only afford one police car. One police car. So those other 2 police cars are from other takes that I'd comped in.
I believed it.
Yeah, I was shuttling through that bit. I was like, what are you doing?
But here's the thing: if you have After Effects, those effects cost nothing.
And to be specific, there were no track points. They were just, the wall is a good enough track point. You can add these.
Yeah,
if you think about Star Wars special editions, they were adding visual effects to a film made 30 odd years ago, at the time they did those movies. And yeah, if there's a thing that's staying still and another thing that's staying still, you can track on those effects points.
Yeah,
so,
and tracking software is incredible now. You can track anything now, and this is like costs pennies. So you can if you pre-think now. Obviously, there's a lot of effects you can't do with no money. If you attempt them, they're going to look pony. The trick is understanding what you can get away with, what you can't. And if you have that basic understanding, if you go out there, if you've got After Effects and a camera, you can up your production value.
So now we have time for audience questions. Is that right, Yari? You're staring. Yeah. How long have we got?
About 10 minutes.
All right. Okay. Any audience questions? Please don't be shy. All right. Okay. You're closer there. And then you.
Hey, I heard that you said you made your own music for the backing tracks. If you decided to have music like pop music, up and coming pop music, would you need any licensing for it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I did the score. There are some songs in this, which I didn't do.
I'd love if
Did
you
you do the rap at the beginning?
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, and the courtesan song to the montage in the middle. That was me doing my female singing voice. No, okay. The courtesans did basically loaned us a track for the movie for that sequence in the middle, that montage, which I felt was really an important moment, because I think that you introduce to characters and blah blah blah, and you do that, and I think you get to know them. But I just wanted this little montage in the middle that kind of just got you to know what's going on outside of the gang world for these characters, and only subtle. I didn't want it to be too in your face, and I thought that this song was great. And the Courtesans were a band that I've done music videos for, and I thought they were perfect. So I went up to them and I said, "Hey, I'm making a horror film. Do you want to loan me a track?" So yeah, so they've given me that track. Have to sign the rights away. All the rap stuff is done by an artist called Jibber, who's actually a friend of my DP's, and he got him involved, and he said, here's some tracks, pick some. So yeah, so they're all licensed as in we have the permission, and so that anyone that buys the film knows that we have the rights to those songs, but they are basically just people that supported the project and say, hey look, if it's successful enough that there's a soundtrack, then let's see some money. But if they but otherwise, go for it.
Well, that's the thing as well. You can get the stuff on iTunes. Whenever a film comes out, you can get soundtracks on iTunes. And if you're with PRS, they every time the film is screened on television, if your song's over, I think it's in 30-second increments with PRS.
You can be clever with it. Yeah.
You can. So I think little things like didn't J.J. Abrams do the opening dial-up internet connection noise for Lost? And so he gets a shit ton of money every time an episode of Lost is on television. So little things like that is kind of good to do.
Yeah, but
in terms of, sorry to go on again.
Sorry?
But in terms of contracts and everything, admin stuff like that, would it be you yourself that would deal with that, or do you?
As the producer, yeah. I produced this movie, so yeah, I deal with all that. On another movie, if I was a director and somebody else was producing, they would handle all that. But it's something you have to do. Even if people are, giving it to you, you've got to have a written contract, and you just negotiate how that works depending on the project.
And did you write it yourself, the contracts?
The contracts.
You can get those.
You can get
as a resource.
There are templates that you can use. Yeah, and that's you do that, and as long as everyone's. I mean, the thing is the legal world is a is a whole different thing. As long as everyone's got the right spirit and you've signed something and it's all very clear, and quite often you can refer to emails as well. So if anyone's like, the contract doesn't quite say that, it's like, well, you can refer to this email. It clearly says that this is what I wanted. You said yes, blah blah blah. You know,
are you a musician?
Myself?
Yeah.
No, I'm an actor.
Okay. Because I'm going to say that there are different. What you do as a musician, if you've written something, you license the right for them to use it in the film, and that's it. So they don't own the song, they don't own the track. We just have permission to use it, and that's it. And if there's other little things there, you can use it in the marketing as well if you choose. It's just little things like that, really. It's just like a small thing to cover the composer more than anything else. And because again, we've both done films on low budgets. You go to the composer and say, we don't own this. You own this, but you're giving us permission to use it, even though you've written it based on the cues and the beats in the film. If that makes sense. Cool. Another question.
You've actually answered it. It was related to what?
Good.
So thank you.
You do have another question down here. You stick your hand up. Yeah, go for it.
There was a lot of breathing in the film. Was that ever?
Actors just love to breathe, man. They don't stop. Just the front here.
Just the front there.
Pop your hand up.
You said there's a lot of breathing in the film.
Oh, pass it along.
Here we go.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, there was a lot of breathing. Was that like accentuated in any way, or was?
Hell yeah.
Did she require oxygen at the end of it, or something?
Okay, the sound. Okay, the sound is. I don't know. Is David here? Because he said he was. He said he might have turned up, but he's not. Anyway, David's my sound designer, and he's kind of my partner in crime when it comes to how the film sounds. And so yeah, basically the idea is there's a lot of scenes that you edit, and you have to tell people. Sometimes you have to tell them, hey, there's going to be a bit of music in here, so it'd be great. Or you're going to tell them, oh, the sound's going to do this. Or you're going to say, it's just going to be breathing. And as a director, when you're showing people the rough cut, you find yourself going, like that, just to let people know. Like when Sarah's running down a corridor, you know, basically there's Atmos, but the main sound is her breath going, like that. And it is a major part of the scene to make the scene work. So what happens then is a few months later, is Sarah comes into a studio.
My ADR sessions were very strange.
How many words did you say in your ADR?
I said about 2 sentences, and the rest were just different types of breathing. Yeah. And it was like more in the nose. Okay. Now make it from the mouth. Okay.
Brad licking his teeth, watching.
It was so good. I was like in the ADR for 2 hours. What did you just say?
I said he was just licking his teeth, watching. Yeah, breathe more. Sorry, it's a trick. All the directors do it.
Yeah, I have that file.
So yeah, ADR was very interesting.
But I think most actors will say, yeah, I spend a lot of time in the ADR studio just going like that. Roger Moore being an amazing example of ADR when it comes to fight scenes.
Karate chop.
Yeah, karate chop. This is one of the things as an actor you have to do. And you do find yourself literally in a studio with a director directing you how to breathe, and you're because you don't. It's an interesting thing that you point that out though, because if you took that out, it would be nonsense. It really wouldn't work. This is where, you know, when you get to Foley and things like that, so many little sounds that, you know, there's someone spends a whole day at a microphone doing this like that, and if you don't have that sound, it won't work.
It's very flat, isn't it? It's very
dead.
It's like you're telling a story with like small sound effects.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's weird though. You do start becoming like in ADR. I started to really like analyze the different types of breathing. So they'd play obviously a little scene and be like, "This is what we need the breath over," and I'll be like, "Okay, I'm definitely doing that one a bit more. Like that's heavier. No, that's lighter." And you start to really like work out what type of breath am I going to give for this bit.
It's good as well. That's the thing about like good actors is that you saw they clock posture and like, you know, the sound. If you're saying a line and you're getting up, your lungs compress and everything changes.
Yeah, you have to.
This is why
so if you're doing ADR, you got to think about this stuff.
Yeah,
and a lot of actors,
this
the best
is why
actors
a lot of
do.
actors, and I think, and Matt and Ethan did this as well. I think, you know, when you're standing there at a microphone, you're like, okay, I've got to move about. I've got to do something. I've got to do this. If I'm going to be getting up, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to get up. And because it's amazing how those little sounds, if they don't sound right, it completely, you don't see it. You don't notice it, but if it's not there or it's not right, you do notice it. And that's one of the crazy things.
Yeah, so it's like, give me a minute. You think, well, okay, that's a good sentence, that's give me a minute. But you're not saying give me a minute, you're saying give me a minute. And that is just a noise.
Yeah.
And you have to replicate that noise, the way your lips move, the way you hunched over, all those things sort of play a part. We've got time for one more question. Right there, sir.
Still not quite sure what tone you wanted to achieve with this movie. Was it supposed to be serious horror or more comedy?
Did you find it funny?
That's your job. So the audience is all about it.
Did you find it funny?
Yes.
Yeah, you did. You found it funny.
I was thinking, was that intentionally or
when you make
every time? Yes.
Yeah. Every time you laughed, I intended it. No, it's an interesting question. Okay, here's the thing. Here we are. Okay, the case in point is Frankie, who's here. Frankie's death scene, which when we were shooting it, and everyone was when we were shooting it, because it's such a beautiful shot, atmospheric shot, backlit, and everyone's going, oh my god, this shot's amazing, and it looks beautiful, and everyone was like, oh, that's my favourite shot in the film so far, Brad, it's great, and it's so atmospheric, and I'm going, yeah, but everyone's going to laugh in this, when Frankie gets hit, they're going to laugh. And I'm like, no, it's horrible. I'm going, yeah, it is horrible, but they're going to laugh because that is what you do. I've done it myself so many times, and horror and comedy are so closely linked. So, is it a serious film? Yeah. Does it have a serious point? I hope so. Are people going to walk away from it thinking, okay, that had more to it than I thought it was going to have? Yes. Do I want you to laugh when Frankie gets whacked in the face? Yes. Because it's a release, and horror. There's so many horror films that affected me deeply, but I will still laugh. So the tone of horror and comedy is such a thin line. So if I hear people if I hear them laugh at something like that, or I hear them laugh at a tense moment, that's great. That's what I need. You need a reaction because laughing is a release of tension, so where it goes on the line there is a personal thing. There's so many horror movies that I find not funny that other people do, and so many horror movies that I find hilarious and other people are like, what? Sick. And that's because it's
like going to the Prince Charles with millennials. They laugh at the wrong things. No offense.
But it's true.
But there's that thing though. It's like Jurassic Park. There's that bit where the car comes down to the tree and it lands on them and they're alive. It goes, no, we're back in the car again. It's not that funny, but the tension that we've all had is juxtaposed. Yeah. The tension and like the permission to have that release. Yeah. That's the thing. Which is why I think a lot of bad horror films rely on jump scares, because every time there's a jump scare, all the audience does is laugh. Whenever you get a jump scare in a shit horror film, they're still trying to scare you. It's like, no, you're done, mate. You've done your job. It's over. So it's always that thing. I think consistent tone is a bit.
It's boring.
Frankly, pathetic. It's an insecurity in telling your story.
Yeah,
and
play with it. Play with it.
You have a tone that goes like that. I think you're in something.
Yeah, take it to the edge and play with it. And some people are going to find it that side of the tone. Some are going to find it that side of the tone.
What was that amazing thing that Tarantino said? So when you watch Jaws, you're laughing a lot because it's a really witty, clever, funny film.
It's one of the funniest films ever made.
You're not laughing.
No.
You said the same thing with Reservoir Dogs. You said you laugh through most of Reservoir Dogs, but when you're not laughing, you're definitely not laughing.
That's why
no one calls those films comedies.
No, that's why Jaws is is I think one of the most sublime examples of filmmaking. It's funny when it's funny, and it's not funny when it's not funny, and it doesn't. You know exactly. You know, and and I don't even pretend to come to that level of filmmaking. All I can do is do something that I find interesting, intriguing, and entertaining, and throw it out. And you either find it sick, or you find it funny, or you find it, But as long as it's getting a reaction, great.
Do we have one more, Yari, or are we done?
Pretty much, you're done, bro.
So much fun.
So, ladies and gentlemen, have we had a good time?
Yes. mostly satisfied. Yeah, very satisfied with the performance.
Did we learn anything? Yes.
Oh, I thought you said boo.
There's some really sympathetic yeses there. That was great. Thank you, guys.
Probably.
So just before we go, a round of applause for Brad. Mark and Sarah. Okay, the date's not quite done yet. If you'd like to join us, feel free. We'll be in the blue room having a drink, so you can do that.